It would seem as though.
It would.
It would indeed seem as though you have found us yet again.
Found us, girl. We're
you
not
found
hiding.
us. We were missing. We were like Jesus. We were hiding. And then you say, I found them. Yeah.
Here we are.
were behind the couch the whole
time. Yeah.
Yeah. We were actually binging Netflix and
staying inside.
Eating.
Girl.
And staying inside.
Bitch, it's 100 degrees.
It's 100 degrees, which is horrible.
And usually we exaggerate. We're pretty into hyperbole, but that's not it, girl. It's 100 degrees here. So.
But here we are, another week of It Would Seem As Though, the podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Mostly nothing.
Mostly nothing.
Typically nothing.
Yeah. We try to throw in some like real world topics, some things that are kind of important, some things that are really important as they cross our path and cross our minds. And before I go any further, I am Vesta.
I'm Annika. I was trying to think of something, but I can't.
3 weeks in a row, just Annika.
Listen, I'm tired, okay?
You're tired and hot.
I don't want to.
I know.
Yesterday,
I was like, just shoot me. It's 100 degrees. That's never okay with me. I want to be anywhere that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to move to Iceland. Now. I packed my bags and I just and I have a passport now, so I can go.
You could go
and go hang out with the fairies, and not the fairies I usually hang out with, but the Icelandic,
That's true. Well, yesterday I had 2 friends over, and I was like, "This is the hottest day in the whole world. Why the fuck did I invite people over?" It was fine. I was by the end though, like too many people in one room. Even though I have air conditioning, girl, I'm just like, get away from me. Get out.
I was just pleased that you had friends.
No, girl. Well, handful, maybe.
Yeah. Well, you got to start somewhere.
Look, I don't like most people,
so
people are lucky that I tolerate
I do know that.
I
do know that. And I was just joking a moment ago about binging Netflix. Girl, I binged the shit out of some Netflix the other day. I saw this show advertised. When you flip it through, it's like things you may like, things that are new, blah blah blah. And this thing popped up called Heartstopper.
Okay.
And I'm all, And so I read the little thing as like queer teen, high school love, whatever.
Love queers.
And I was like, oh, that sounds like it could be cute. And so then I watched the preview. And I was like, okay, cute, British. And it's about this queer boy who was outed the year before. Everybody's like, oh, you're so brave to be out. And he's like, well, I didn't out myself.
Right.
And, it's high school and an all-boys school.
Right.
So, sounds like an awful, horrible nightmare.
Right.
And so, but I watched the preview and I was like, oh, that's cute. I'll watch that.
And girl, did she watch it?
Did I by the next day, I had finished the entire series. I mean, granted, it's only 8 episodes, and each episode is a half an hour.
Yeah.
But it's so, so sweet. I watched it and I was just like, oh, because it made me really harken back to, kind of young love and feeling the pain. It's like how that all is so
devastating.
It is devastating.
You don't know anything else, so that feels like the end of the world too.
I know.
Stupid.
And crushes. There's a reason they're called a crush.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it's going to kill you.
Yeah. We just watched the Billy Porter directorial debut.
Oh, I just saw the ad for that this morning.
It's called Anything Is Possible.
Yes.
So it's also a young queer love story. It's a movie though. It's only like 90 minutes, so it's not very long. But it's so cute because it's like a young black trans girl, and her mom is super supportive, and she basically just like falls in love with this guy who is Muslim, and then they just like start dating, and it's all very cute and wholesome and sweet. And there are moments with like very real issues, but I was like, this is kind of like post-racial. I realize that there's shows that I'm watching that feel like race is a non-issue, right? Like race and other things are a non-issue. Like people, because she's a high school student.
So it's fantasy.
Right. And so because, this is a sidebar, but I recently watched all of Stranger Things too. And there are, people of color. One of the main characters is a black kid. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like the racism that is within the town of Hawkins, within this show. I don't feel like it exists. It feels more post-racial to me, and it's just odd. In the 80s, in Indiana, of all places, in a small town. But anyway, my point is, you should watch it. This movie called Anything is Possible. It's very sweet. Billy Porter directed it.
It is Netflix, right?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Billy Porter's amazing, and you should know who Billy Porter is for many reasons. But again, we talk about the show Pose, like it's going out of color.
Right.
He was also the fairy god human person on the new Cinderella with Camilla Cabello.
I know you did not love that movie.
Did not.
But I love the 30 seconds that Billy Porter is in it.
Yeah,
because he's phenomenal. Now, the first time I became aware of Billy Porter is when he was starring on Broadway in Kinky Boots.
Okay,
which, of course, obviously I didn't go see. I've only been to New York one time in my entire life. But I saw him, I saw advertisements for him, and I saw, you can go on all the websites to see the Broadway shows as they're coming to Portland. Mm-hmm. But usually what you'll see is the clips of the original New York show, not the touring company.
Sure.
And I was all, I don't know who she is, but she's amazing. And if you don't know the story of Kinky Boots, also I highly recommend you watch the original movie, which is not musical. It's just a regular movie about this man who inherits his father's shoe factory, which is kind of going down the toilet. And so he meets this drag queen named Lola in London and decides what he needs to do is make, sexy boots, high heels, whatever. And Lola becomes kind of business partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then my good friend Cyndi Lauper wrote music for it, made it into a musical, which she won Tonys for on the Broadway.
That poor, untalented Cyndi
I know,
Lauper.
poor Cyndi Lauper with her lack
horrible.
of talent and her... the only thing she's missing is an Oscar, because she has a Grammy, a Tony, and an Emmy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well,
because she won her Emmys. I think she won 2 for the show Mad About You.
I knew you were going to say that. I was actually just talking about Mad About You.
Because she was so good in that.
I don't really
She's
remember.
so good anyway.
Yeah. Period. Full stop.
And I don't remember if I ever told my embarrassing Cyndi Lauper story here on the pod. But I met Cyndi Lauper here in Portland. She was at a record signing at Music Millennium because she was opening for Cher. And so she decided to do a little mini concert at Music Millennium.
Yeah.
And those of you who are... I don't know if it's every school around the country, but most schools, the first instrument you get in school is a recorder. Mm-hmm. And she talked about how, like everyone else, she played a recorder in school. But while everybody else was, screeching out Mary Had a Little Lamb on the recorder, she's playing Jethro Tull.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, well, that tracks for Cyndi.
Sure.
Anyway, so after she plays her mini concert, and you have the opportunity to have her autograph whatever it is you brought or bought that day. And so I bought her new EP, Shine, which is fantastic. She's sitting on this, 70s couch, and everybody who wants to pose for a picture for her is kind of squatting next to the arm of the couch. Well, I
don't do that.
My knees don't work in a way that squatting is humanly possible. So I was like, what am I going to do? I can't get down on my knees, so I'll never get back up. I can't squat. Well, I know I'll just kind of perch on the arm of the couch. And I did that, and I underestimated the slipperiness of the fabric, and then I fell off the arm of the couch.
Oh, my God.
And as I'm, on the floor, Cyndi Lauper's looking at me going, are you all right? And then it's like, just humiliated.
No, you could shoot me right now.
So now I'm going to take my picture, and I smiled, in this super fake... oh my God, it hurt the picture kind of face. And the straight on picture of it, I look psychotic. But luckily I had a couple friends who were there who were taking pictures of everyone. So they got a picture from the side.
Where you don't look
So
nuts.
I don't look as psychotic. I look like this could be a real smile.
I love that.
As opposed to the smile of a psycho woman who just fell on the floor in front of Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, you should have been like, Cyndi, can you just come down here and lay down with me and we can take a picture down
I
here?
would love that. I mean, you're teeny tiny. And
we
I'll
could just
pick
throw you back up there.
Right.
It's fine.
I mean, I know it's a long way from the couch to the floor. She, by the way, is teeny tiny.
Yeah, I bet.
She's about 2'3".
Wow.
Yeah,
They
and
make her
weighs
look
about
much
6
bigger.
pounds. She's tiny.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I actually tried to steal her by putting her in my purse to take her home, but security they caught me. So that.
God.
Girl. Speaking of music, though, oh my God, I have to tell you, I was just flipping through stuff on the YouTubes.
Sure.
And this video popped up for a group called Chapel Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because of you.
They were on the America's Got Talent.
Oh, the Americas.
Yeah. Well, as an old person, I like to put the in front of everything because it cracks me up.
Well, I do it too when I say the Facebook at work.
Well, sure,
like,
the Facebook.
How old are you?
Old.
Old bitch.
Going to the Walmart.
Ew.
I got it from, it's like, old people really do that, and so it makes me laugh, and so now I just do it because it's funny.
Yeah. Sure.
Anyway.
Sure, Grandma.
But I was watching the YouTubes, and this video popped up of these 3 beautiful black women singing country, and I was like, what?
What is there?
And the lead singer of this song in particular, because I think they switch off leads.
Sure.
Big girl. And I was like, wait a minute. Big girl, black girls singing country? What? Mm-hmm. And because you just don't see that.
No.
And, I mean, it's been so few in the 150,000 years of country music.
Right.
Well, they did this song. They said, "You Can Have Him, Jolene," which is like their follow-up to Dolly Parton's Jolene.
Yeah.
Except what she said is, from 1973 to 2022, we can't still be fighting over the same man, so you can have him.
Yeah, I love that.
Whatever. So they were on America's Got Talent, and they got the golden buzzer, which means they go right through to the end, or to the whatever, the live shows. And they, of course, credit Dolly with being their inspiration. They love Dolly. Dolly rules the world, and she run Dolly for president. Dolly Parton tweeted at them, like, the next day, saying that she loved their song.
I love that.
And I'm sure I would have pissed my pants. Dolly Parton now knows who I am. I would die.
What?
But she was like, I loved your song, but I will keep Carl, because, her husband of 400 years.
Yeah.
And today's his birthday, so I'm not going to tell Jolene.
Yeah.
That was like, because it was based on a true story of her and her husband, and some woman at the bank flirting with her husband.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's so funny to me.
But I love that. And then Loretta Lynn, also country legend, she didn't text. She tweeted at them, although I'm sure it was her people, because I'm sure Loretta's 150. She don't know how to tweet nothing. She probably doesn't even know what that means. Am I making bird noises?
Yeah.
What do you mean
Tweet,
tweeting?
tweet.
I would love to see what you could do with one of my songs.
Oh my god.
And then
Oh god.
somebody tweeted. Nobody's texting. Somebody tweeted at Darius Rucker, who used to be a Hootie and the Blowfish.
Okay.
Saying, you're a black man in country music.
Yeah.
You should do something for these girls. And he's like, done. They're already on my next record.
Oh my god. Snaps.
And then,
Stop.
there's more.
Crazy. But wait, there's more.
Their self-produced album that they released a year ago, that's just been kind of simmering.
Yeah. Blew the fuck
now
up.
number 3 on the country chart.
Hey. Right.
And they're booked to do their debut performance at the Grand Ole Opry.
Bitch.
I know, all of this happened in a week.
Yep.
Can you imagine these? And this is, I'm sure, what people think of when they think of overnight success.
Yeah.
Now, these women have been working probably for years because their harmony is tight, and they write their own songs. They're phenomenal. So, kudos,
Good.
Chapel Hart.
Yeah, good for you.
I'm
Good
like, I have to
for
now
you.
buy every music thing that they put out, no matter what it is.
Wait, I need you to know, going back to Dolly for a second, there's a show that I watch. It's called
Dolly.
The Orville. And it's like...
The Orville?
Yeah, and it's like...
As in like Redenbacher?
Kind of, but it's like a Star Trek Next Generation spoofy kind of show. It's funny. It has... What's his name? Who did what's it's called?
Sure.
Beep, boop, 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 boop. What the fuck is Seth MacFarlane? He created it.
Okay.
He is the lead.
So South Park. Right? Isn't
Family Guy.
Family Guy.
You need to stop talking. You're drunk today. I don't like
I
it.
am. Well,
anyway,
I
but
have been drinking a lot this morning.
there is
It's hot.
this like alien species, long story, but whatever. The women of the species like worship Dolly Parton, and so at one point they
That
need to
seems
get
right to me.
they need to get through to the women, so they bring them into like the room, whatever it's called, where holograms can pop up, and they bring Dolly in. And they used all of her information for the past 6 million years of Dolly Parton.
Sure.
And they made a hologram of Dolly Parton to give this woman like advice, and it was so fucking cute because Dolly Parton was on the Orville. It was really really
I
cute.
love that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Ship's
love
great,
that.
by the way.
I'm going to jump back to Heartstopper, which I talked about the Netflix show I was watching. Only because I
We're just
wanted
gonna
to
keep
say,
going backwards.
Only because I wanted to say one of the things, because we started talking about other things,
Sure.
shocking, because hashtag tangents or topics.
Sure
but
are.
one of the things I loved is, so this is centered around these 4 friends who've been friends for years in this school and whatever. And one of the friends transferred to an all-girls school because she's trans. Mm-hmm. And wait for it, she's played by a trans actress.
Weird. How weird.
And the lead character, who is queer, is played by a queer actor.
I don't like it.
I'm
just
just
stop.
like, what is happening
Queer
here?
people can't do that.
Go Europe. Go UK.
I know. Good for you, I guess. What?
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Me too.
Things I don't love.
Great.
I just got to... As if this world isn't shit enough right now.
Okay.
Every week before we do this, I always look up queer news.
Sure.
To see if there's anything exciting or horrible happening.
Yeah.
And, the same horrible has been happening for months now. It's still happening, so that's not news. Although I did see where this GOP lawmaker voted no on gay marriage protection stuff, and then 3 days later attended his son's gay wedding.
Huh. Weird.
Now, here's my thought about that, and this isn't what I was even going to talk about, but it's like, first of all, why would you be allowed at the gay wedding if you're the guy who's voting against gay marriage? I would think you'd be like, you are no longer invited. I don't care if you're my father.
Oh, yeah.
I don't give a shit who you are. Get out. Mm-hmm. And why would you vote no and then 3 days later attend?
And then attend, yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Me either.
But that's not what I was going to talk about. I just saw that in the queer news. This is what I saw that I was like, what in the actual fuck? There is an outbreak of monkeypox. Mm-hmm. Did you see this?
It's been happening, girl.
But now it's like spreading. It's in Oregon. It's all across the world. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is monkeypox? And so I had to look it up because I was like, that's not even real. Mm-hmm. Where the monkeys get the pox. I don't know what's happening.
Girl. Well, and initially when it first came out, the only pictures they were showing you was what it looked like on, like, melanated skin. It didn't show you at all what it looked like on white people. So, it's kind of racist. But yeah, cool, right? Diseases, the plagues, girl, the plagues.
Well, and I was, like, reading this thing and it's saying how it's spreading fastest right now in the queer community. Great. Because it spreads by touch. And these...
Don't fucking touch
these
me.
men's are touching. Who are out dancing and stuff in crowded clubs. Who happen to be wearing less clothing, like no shirts and whatever, are touching each other, rubbing them, whatever.
I think you're making an assumption about men, though, because I think queer people in general.
Well, this is what I'm telling you happened in this story. They were saying how, and I love. They're like, our story is not homophobic, but and I was like, if you have to start the beginning of your story by saying you're not homophobic, I imagine you probably are.
I'm not racist,
but right.
Yeah, right.
No offense, but nothing good follows any of those things.
No.
But apparently you don't die from monkeypox.
Okay.
1% of the population can die, who gets it.
You just get the boogie fever? Like, what happens?
You get the boogie fever, and you get pustules on your body.
I'm dead already. Literally shoot me. Like, I can't.
Well, and when they were saying they can happen anywhere on your body.
Nope, absolutely not. They can't.
No, it's like on your genitals,
not
on
when
your
I'm
face.
Dead.
Not my face.
Not when I'm dead, bitch.
I was like, no.
I'm sorry.
No.
Take me out. Put me in a freezer. Can it live in the cold? I can't do it. Like, no, ma'am. If there's pustules developing on my skin, I'm leaving.
Right.
Just shoot me to space with no protection. I don't care. Just get me away from it.
Same.
Right? I don't care. I don't want that. No thanks.
No, I'm gonna. Well, for me, it was like, more reason to isolate and stay away from people.
Honestly,
because people are the worst.
And now I'm like, since our topic today is superstitions, I'm like, what could I do? Superstitions that I could do to make sure that I'm protected from fucking monkeypox, bitch.
And so I'm sorry. What is wrong with you? I have monkeypox.
Oh God, I'm getting crazy.
And monkeypox
erratic.
Apparently is closest to smallpox.
What?
Yeah, which was eradicated a long, long time ago.
I don't want. Yeah, right. In the Western world, though, let's be real.
Well, yes,
there are places in the world that don't have what we have, but scary, girl. I don't want it. Don't give it to me.
There are places in the world that don't have what we have. You mean school shootings?
School shootings.
Oh.
Well, and
we're number one in that.
I know, and incarcerated adults and adults who believe in angels. Anyway, but my point is, a lot of the reasons, and like my point is like, all these other nations can't take care of themselves, but like the Western world has like raped the rest of the world and been like, fix it. I'm sorry, you literally raped our land and killed our people and took our resources, and you want us to fix it on our own.
Oh, so, stop complaining about the mess that we made. You can clean it up.
And like, okay, but this is just sidebar slightly, but monkeypox, COVID, wherever, they originate in nations where people have to do what they have to do to survive. And then we're like, oh my God, I couldn't believe people were at, a wet market, or people ate this kind of animal. Like, why? Why can't you believe that? When people are poor, you gotta do what you gotta do. People live in places that...
Listen, I grew up here in, the great state of Oregon. And as a child, ate some things that I'm sure people would be horrified about.
Yeah.
Because we was po.
Yeah.
And we were, and I know a lot of people say I was poor growing up. No, bitch, I was poor. We had times where it's like, if things hadn't, air quotes, fallen off of a truck of our neighbor who was a truck driver, we wouldn't have food.
Right.
There were times where we didn't have electricity. There were times we didn't have hot water. So we were poor. Now, we still had a roof over our heads. What flooded one time, but we still had a roof. Sometimes it was real cold up in that house.
I love that silver lining. We still had a roof because...
it's like, because there are levels of poverty, which I've learned as an adult, because I always thought, oh my God, we're so poor. And then I started seeing people who were houseless, and people who really, were going hungry for days at a time. Okay. So we were poor.
Not that poor.
But we were not that poor. But we still, it was a struggle.
What's interesting is, that how you, grew up that kind of poor is quite literally how I grew up, too. I think mine was just filthier, but, I think, honestly...
You grew up poor and dirty.
Yeah, not having, electricity or, water going out, or not having hot water, or whatever it is. Not having those things is a detriment. And then on top of having, disgusting, filthy adults who live in the house, and... it's just weird to think
shoot
about.
Rodents in your living room.
Girl, yes. It's just strange to think about how decades apart and still it's the same fucking, it's weird.
Have I shared that story on here?
I don't know.
In case I haven't, if I have, I apologize if you've heard it, but I'm gonna tell it again if I have. When Annika was
little, 6, 7.
Were you that young?
8 maybe. I don't think I was very old.
Fairly young. I was over visiting her home. On the pretense of visiting her family, and the only person I cared about seeing was Annika. Annika and her sisters at that time was it was nice to see the kids, but her parents, trash. Anyhow, my brother is sitting in his Barca Lounger, and all of a sudden grabs up a gun, because he just happens to have one right next to his chair, because he's that person, and aims it across the room and shoots. And I'm all, what the actual fuck just happened? What on earth is happening in this time right now?
Yep.
And then he says to your sister, Ashley, go check and see if that rat's dead. So he literally shot a rodent from his chair. Didn't get up and try to catch it, stomp on it, do something. No, shot it. And she was all, I am not going to go. And so he walks over there, sees that it is indeed not dead. It is wounded.
Yeah.
And then shoots it again at point blank range.
Yeah.
And I'm all, look, would you look at the time, girl? I gotta go. This trash.
I know.
And I was like, this is too much, even for me and my country living ways. I grew up in the country, as you know.
Yeah.
And when I was really young, we lived in the country, girl. We lived out of town. Our neighbors were, on the farm across the way.
Yeah.
There was a time when our first neighbor, because by the time we lived there, I think there was 3 separate sets of neighbors that lived in that house. They had pigs, and 2 pig stories, one funny, one not. One day, my eldest brother was standing on the kitchen counter screaming, and when we came into the kitchen, found it was because there was a giant sow.
I love that story.
For those of you who don't know what a sow is, it's a female pig, standing in the kitchen. And for all of those of you who think Charlotte's Web is a documentary, full-grown sows will kill you.
Will kill you dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
They ain't playing around. She just had a baby.
And then they'll eat every single part of you.
And they will, they will eat all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bone, everything. They don't care. And so he's on, my mother then had to chase her out of the kitchen with a broom.
I love that.
That is some country living right there. But the other story, and then we have to take a break, was that one of the pigs got caught up in the electric fence.
I hate that.
Right, and so it had a heart attack and died
I hate
from
that.
They butchered it right up there on the electric fence and took pieces of pork to the neighbors and the...
I hate that.
Yeah.
I'm dead. I don't want to talk about that anymore.
It was already heat.
I have to go. I can't be a part of this anymore. You've ruined my whole day.
Right. You go ahead and go.
Bye.
You know what's funny is I had no idea that I would even talk about any of that stuff. But we talk about growing up in the country. Mm-hmm. I think, well, it's kind of funny to me because, my husband was born in Florida, so lived in the city. He lived in Fort Lauderdale. And then moved to Portland, so he's only ever lived in the city.
Yeah.
And so, like, if we go to a fair and there's farm animals, he's just like, oh my God, how cute, whatever.
Yeah.
No, seen it. Mm-hmm. I've seen more cows, pigs, sheep, horses, goats, all than I ever need to see.
Yeah.
Because they were everywhere growing up. That I don't love animals, I do. Mm-hmm. But it's like, it doesn't excite me because I'm like...
Yeah, I feel differently. I feel like I'm in the middle because, and at one point, my family lived on that fucking cow ranch, remember? So, I have helped do the things you have to do to cows to make sure they're healthy, give birth. Blech, it's disgusting. I don't want to do any of that ever again. But if I see animals, no matter what, I'm stoked, but I'm not like, I don't know, it's more just because I like animals than people, not that, this is only the 5th time in my life I've seen a cow, So, no, I get that. I get it. But also growing in the country, you're like, okay, what? I'm not stopping to take a picture of this fucking cow. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've done this. Grew up with them.
Right. I want to share with you something funny that I heard today. I was watching the videos for the Meet the Queens of the premiere season of Drag Race Philippines.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't know, if you watch Wild Presents Plus, there's several different countries now that have Drag Race. And so, when they release the info, and it's like, here's the date that it's going to start. Here are the queens. Each one gets like a minute and a half, 2 minutes to introduce themselves, talk about themselves, talk about how great they are. Because it's drag queens. They're going to talk about how amazing they are.
Sure.
This one queen, I was cracking up because she mentioned the exact number of islands in the Philippines. She's like, the 7,400 islands of the Philippines. And then as soon as she said it, she said, I'm not sure if that's accurate. I'm not a scientist. I'm a drag queen.
I love that. That's so funny.
I was like, I don't even know who I'm even going to like on this season, but you, you ma'am.
Ding, ding, ding.
You, ma'am, are funny.
Hell yeah, that's so good.
I love
you. That.
Very, very funny. There's Drag Race now all over the world.
I know.
Right at this moment, there's the All-Stars going on. Drag Race France, Drag Race Canada. Philippines is starting in August. And then there's Secret Celebrity Drag Race.
I heard about that. That's the only I don't watch any of the international because it's just a lot and I have other things to do. But I do keep up with U.S. drag.
Is it because you have to read subtitles and stuff?
No. Yes.
Reading is hard.
I have a lot to do in my life.
I know.
Okay, bitch.
You're a busy girl.
I'm very busy. So
with all of your schooling, and now you're going to be...
I know.
What is it called?
So it's a research initiative. It's for the Interplanetary Initiative through Arizona State University. And so I got accepted to join that team. So now I'm going to, not on top of taking a full course load next semester, I'm also going to be part of a research team that's 15 weeks long, and we get to figure out how to make essentially Star Trek, right? How to create a cohesive, just, equitable, and inclusive space once people have to get to space, right? How do we leave abortion laws behind, and how do we leave racism and bigotry and homophobia, and how can people just...
Now, did they pick you because they're fairly certain you're an alien and you already know space
they're
stuff?
Like, you're the only student who we believe is an extraterrestrial, so please come aboard.
Right. That would make sense.
No, that isn't. But since
they don't know you're an alien.
No, not yet. But since it is predominantly science, most of the majors, most of the students are like heavy into math and science. Very few of us were like humanities or social scientists. But again, I was talking to my friend Lizzie about it yesterday, and I'm like, you need people who study society and humans and people and how this all functions cohesively if you decide to create a society. You can't just be like, well, we have a chemist and a physicist and here's society. Like, no thanks. I'm sorry, scientists also were the ones who thought that races were based on school type, so I don't care about that. But, I just think that you need people who know more about how people function. The interconnectedness of people. So we'll see. Maybe maybe something rad will happen. And they'll be like, do you want to go to space?
And you'll be like,
get me the fuck out of here.
how far exactly can I get from these crazy-ass people?
And can you drop me off? Do I have to come back? That would be my question.
Have you created a safe space in space?
Yeah.
You know, that's... I'm all about it. Actually, I'm not. The idea of going to space is super terrifying. So these people who are, you know, paying Jeff Bezos billions of dollars or who the hell ever it is.
Yeah.
Is it Jeff Bezos?
Sure.
Or is it one of those other
some
idiot billionaires?
rich fucking billionaire? Who cares?
Who's the
Elon
Tesla
Musk.
guy? Elon Musk.
Yeah,
he's the
gross.
one with the rockets. And
Yeah.
But then there's also the one who Virgin Records, whatever Airlines, because he was Virgin Records, now he's Virgin Airlines.
I can tell you what his name is though. I try to forget billionaires as quickly.
Branson?
Sure, him. I like that. Let's go with that.
We'll go with that.
If that's not his name, it is now.
Richard Branson, Missouri. That's his full name.
Branson,
That's
Missouri.
his married name.
Ew, Branson.
Anyway, but it's like, why do rich people? It's like, what do you just run out of money, things to spend your money on? So you're like,
and that's
I'm about
the
rocket.
foolish fucking thing is like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos could just like solve world hunger. You know, they could house everybody, but they're instead like, you know what? I'm gonna go to space so I could save it. Like, shut the fuck
and
up.
I'm
no
gonna
one
charge
cares.
you $1 million
stupid.
to go with. You don't need their $1 million.
No. And honestly, I wish they would have just like got lost in space, because here's the thing: space to me is also terrifying. A lot like the ocean to me. I don't know what's in it. I don't know what's out there. You could be like, no, but nothing can live there. And then the moment I'm in motherfucking space, there's some space monster girl.
Well,
so I can't take that chance.
What was I seeing the other day? I saw something about the ocean.
No.
And I can't remember it now, and it doesn't matter. I just remember because it was talking about... Oh, I know what it was. Right now at OMSI, they have an exhibit that is James Cameron, you know, who did the movie Titanic. Mm-hmm. And it's all about the pod that he took down to the bottom of the ocean, which just looks like a bubble.
No.
And... honestly, when I read that and it says you can see what he saw, can you see it? And I thought of you immediately. I was like, I think she would die just looking at the exhibit.
What's
Because one of them is this one, an interactive one where you feel like you're in the water.
Absolutely
Other
not.
than you're dry. But you feel like you're seeing things in a 360.
I want to die just thinking of that. The opening scene of Titanic, when it's modern time and he's underwater looking, that... I couldn't watch in the theater because I saw it in theater because I'm cool, but also I couldn't watch it any other time. Palms start sweating, I can't breathe, it makes me panicky. Is sidebar, and then we have to get to our fucking topic. But there was this TikTok of this Scottish man telling about this lake in Scotland, whatever. It's not Loch Ness, it's some other one. Anyway, but it was like formed by a glacier, blah, blah, blah. It's like the deepest lake in all the UK. And so he's in the middle of it.
I don't like it.
He's in the middle of it, treading water with his phone. Hey, quack, quack, Scotland, whatever. And then he's like, do you want to see what deep, dark water looks like? And I said, no, sir, I don't. And then what does he do? He shows you. He just points his camera down. You see his little legs dangling, and then nothing. Literally nothing. And I said, I gotta go lay down. Like, I can't breathe right now.
Go night-night
I don't know what you guys are doing.
I need a reset, a hard reset.
Mm-hmm. Just put me in a nice coma right now. That would be wonderful. So, those sensory deprivation tanks too. I think I would die of a heart attack. I would just lose my mind.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's supposed to be relaxing that I'm pretty sure would kill me.
Yeah, because I'm going to forget that I'm in a little pod and be like, I'm in the middle of a fucking ocean and I'm going to die.
I'm going to die here. Mm-hmm. I'm all alone here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to die.
Everyone forgot about me. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. On that happy note. Yeah. We actually do have a topic today. We do. Well, it's one of many, obviously, because we're talking about all kinds of things. But superstitions.
Yes.
Ooh.
And so, what is a superstition? And so, I'm just gonna... Here's a general overview.
Okay.
So, a superstition is a belief or a practice that people who don't practice this belief think is irrational or supernatural, number one. Number two, attributed to fate or magic, okay? Number three, perceived supernatural influence. So, the ghost did it.
Sure.
Or, number four, it's the fear of the unknown. So it's, commonly applied to astrology, numerology, divination. A lot of it is good omens, bad omens, right? Like doing things to bring about good luck or ward off evil. Like,
sure.
That is what the majority of superstitions are. And when I was looking this up, there's something everyone should know, that superstitions are not universal. The superstitions that we have in the United States,
right,
are not going to be most.
But I think every community, every culture has their own superstitions, right?
Well, and like, for example, the best one I can think of is like the evil eye. You've heard people talk about the evil eye. But like, it's called many things. The Greeks have it, the Persians have it, people in Africa have it, the Americas have it, in Mexico. You know, like, everywhere has something about the evil eye. So that is just one common, you know, belief about some evil thing that you need to protect yourself from or ward it off or whatever. But how they do it is all different, which is really interesting. Sometimes people make hand signs. Sometimes people knock on wood or, you know, smudge themselves, cleanse themselves with smoke, different things. But yeah, so superstition. Why did you want to talk about this week?
You know, I don't know. I was thinking about some things. Actually, we have this thing, this card game. It's called Tabletop. Mm-hmm. And it is specifically, just a little box of cards, and is meant to start a conversation with a group of people. Yeah. And we were doing it the other night, and it's kind of tougher to do with children because I think they kind of miss the bigger point that is supposed to start a conversation.
It's not a game.
Or whatever. It's not a game.
Yeah,
and it's
cute.
just a thing,
Because your youngest daughter likes to say, can we play that game? And we're like, baby, it's just conversation.
It's just conversation. But one of them was specifically about superstitions held in your own family. Mm. And though I don't think we have specific superstitions to our family, there were some different questions around family and stuff, and I thought that was interesting. Yeah. Because, like, mostly for me, as I was first thinking about it, I was like, I'm not a superstitious person. And when you think of the most common ones, I think for white people, you know, like, you know, black cats are bad luck. The number 13 is bad luck. Walking under a ladder. Well, walking under a ladder is just a bad plan. Yeah. It's not necessarily bad luck, it's a bad plan. So none of those mean anything to me because God knows, had black cats. Number 13 has always been a good number for me.
I have it tattooed on my finger. 13th,
yeah. You know, all those things, whatever. Yeah. One of the ones that has always kind of felt like, remember how we were talking a few weeks ago about voodoo and all of that stuff, and you know, it may or may not be, but don't test it. Yeah, you know, especially if it's not your culture, don't test it. The one that I will never test is the saying the name of people that I do not want to manifest. Yeah, I don't want to manifest these people back in my life, so I won't say their names. Yeah. And there are some people that I just will not, under any circumstances, say their name because it's like, you know, sure as shit, as soon as I say their name, they're going to appear somewhere, and I don't want to see them. Yeah. And I realize that is just a silly superstition. Yeah. But why test it?
Right? No.
Because I also, because I don't believe in what people consider praying, but I believe that if you put good things into the universe, you know, that you're putting out that positive energy. Well, the same thing with, like, putting it out there that's like, I'm going to make up a name that I don't want to see Bob Jones. And if I say his name enough, it's like, sure shit, you know, I'm going to go to work.
Bob Jones going to be here.
Bob Jones going to be at my work, or he's going to run across me at the grocery store, and it'll be on a day where I'm just not prepared for that kind of nonsense.
I often don't feel like I'm superstitious either, but it's because we don't follow a dominant religion, right? So if we followed a religion and then we saw people doing things that were outside of our religion, that's what would be considered superstitious, right? We'd be like, they're being superstitious because they're doing something that is not a part of, like, the overall religion of the time. Right. So now, because we live in, like, this modern time and religion is super split everywhere, I think it just depends on, like, community or family, right, who has superstition. But there are large ones that we do have, again, in the United States that you've talked about. I mean, and when I was looking it up, I was like, I didn't even think of this as a superstition. But, like, the number 666, which people always want to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Mark of the devil.
Mark of the beast. Mark of the devil. And it's funny because I've heard this before, but I had to look up who it was. But when 666 is written out, it's like a numerical code and whatever. And basically it was to talk about Nero Caesar, who was a Caesar during ancient, I think it was Rome probably, but it was a way to talk about him. without mentioning his name.
Oh.
Because at one point, there was a fire set to ancient Rome, and it burned down a huge part of Rome.
Yes.
And then his palace got set on fire. But they blamed him initially for setting the fire. But then they were like, oh no, it was the poor people, or what the fuck ever. But 666 wasn't meant, it was a way to talk about an actual person, is one of the theories. It wasn't actually like, oh, the devil, because that's crazy, right? But yeah, a lot of it was just symbolic, which I think is really interesting.
That is interesting. And isn't he the one who they talk about? He fiddled while Rome burned. Mm-hmm. Isn't that the old saying?
Yeah. And there's really, I saved a couple interesting quotes because there's a couple that say things about him specifically, and like, he was just kind of an awful person. He was like the first. Oh, he really persecuted Christians, which like, sorry about it. But he was the first person to persecute the doctrine. He is the first emperor who dyed his sword with the Christian blood when our religion was just emerging in Rome. So he was not a friend of Christians, and that is one huge reason why he was the mark of the beast, right?
Oh,
so that's
right.
really interesting to me. Friday the 13th, 13 is depending on your culture, right? Or your religion or wherever you live, it has different meanings. But like Friday the 13th specifically, there was a man who wrote a book, and the character in the book is a stockbroker, and Friday the 13th is the day that he chooses to crash the stock market, is one of the theories, right? But again, Friday the 13th is a very American thing, because in like, I don't know where it is, it's like Persia, somewhere in the Mediterranean, it's like Friday the 17th or something is their bad luck day. So it's,
okay.
You know, so like that, going back to it's not universal, people just...
Well, in one of the 13 things that has always puzzled me, I was like, you've got to be kidding, is so many hotels don't have a 13th floor.
I know.
And it's like, you still have a 13th floor. Just because you called it the 14th floor, it's still the 13th floor.
Exactly. And similarly, though, they won't have, like, room 666 if they have 6 stories or whatever. It'll be, like, 665 to 667, which I think is hysterical. Like, shut up. You guys are dumb. And if you think you're putting, if anything, you're giving much more power to that than anyone else.
Well, and I think that's what really powers superstition to begin with, is people give it power.
Oh, 100%.
And I think most things like that is because someone gave it power. Someone said this was true, and maybe for you, maybe, on one Friday the 13th, you had a really bad day, and you're like, see? Friday the 13th, bad luck.
Yeah.
Well, then you had a bad day.
Yep.
It happens. People have bad days.
I would say that, I think a lot of this is also like religion. Religion is in the same vein. So it is something that somebody made up. It is along the lines of somebody made this up, but you feel like it's going to help you protect you or ward off evil. I don't always think, sometimes I prefer people who do superstitious things if it's based in like their culture than people going to a church. I would much rather, when people spill salt, throw salt over their shoulder. And like, I like where they, like, the origins of the stories, and like, because salt used to be super expensive, and kind of a commodity, and it was used as currency, and so people used to, preserving shit, you do it in salt a lot of the time, and so a lot of times if you spill salt on the table at a dinner, it's thought that you could be breaking this relationship, not preserving this relationship. Interesting.
Right, but do you know why you throw the salt over your shoulder?
I don't.
You're throwing it in the devil's face.
I love that.
Because the devil's right there on your shoulder at all times. So you're taking that salt, you're throwing it in the devil's eyes to get it off your shoulder. Which I learned a few years ago, and I was like, what? Because I always wondered, why the salt over the shoulder? Mm-hmm. Why not just...
Yeah.
I don't know. Why not? Why the salt? But it's because you're throwing salt in the devil's face. Funny.
Well, why do we say bless you? I don't. But why do people say bless you?
Parker just asked me that yesterday. Because someone sneezed, said bless you. And he's like, why do we say bless you?
Mm-hmm. We don't say anything if you make any other bodily noise, we say nothing to you. But the fact that you sneeze, people are like, bless you. It stems from like ancient belief where like your heart stopped or your soul jumped out or what the fuck ever.
I think part of it is because when you sneeze, people do believe that for a split second your heart does stop. Mm-hmm. Now, if there's any science behind that, I don't know. But we're not talking about science. We're talking about superstition.
Yeah.
And on that note, we should probably take a quick break.
I don't want to. It's funny to me because Astra, my partner, won't even, like, if you say bless you, there's, like, no response because they're like, why? Why are you blessing me? Like, also, I'm not religious. You don't need to bless me because I sneeze.
Right.
But I also get it. Like, we're very non-religious people. This household is very non-religious. Yet we're blessing people 20 times a day. It sounds odd to me. But YOLO, I don't care.
It makes me think of this story, which I know I've told you before, my friend Mia, who, when she started college, somebody sneezed and she said, bless you. And the person was all mad because they were atheist.
Yeah.
And so instead of her just being... And it was like, I'm not wishing you a bad thing or saying you have to believe in God. I'm just saying bless you. Blessings can come from anywhere. Anything that doesn't religion. Whatever. And so the next time they sneezed, she said, nothing happens when you die.
I love that. Well, often...
so often, like if somebody sneezes, between T and myself, one of us will go, nothing happens when you die.
I love that.
Just because it's funny.
Well, it's like if someone wishes you a Merry Christmas. I'm also still not a Christian, but I'm not going to be like, how dare you? You know, that's crazy to me.
Don't
like,
wish me nice things.
Not see that I am not a Christian. Like, that's weird to me.
You are not a Christian.
I'm very dark-sided.
You are very dark-sided.
So I want to...
For being pasty as Casper the Ghost, you are very dark-sided.
Thank you. It's natural. Going back to Superstitious, my favorite superstition is knocking on wood or touching wood. Mm-hmm. And there's a billion beliefs.
I forgot that I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a billion beliefs. A lot of it is like, oh, the weather's been good recently, and you knock on wood, right? Keep the weather good. Don't jinx it, essentially. Or, to ward off evil, you knock. There's a theory that there were monks that wore giant wooden crosses that would knock on them to ward off evil. My favorite thoughts, though, is this was about, like, privacy of conversation. Back in the day, it was thought that trees protected you and your conversation. So if you went and you needed privacy to go talk to somebody, you would go to, like, a little grove of trees, and you would knock on it, because that way no one could hear you, even, the tree spirits, right? So you could have this conversation in private, which I thought was very cute. I love that. The one that I love the most is people would go into grove of trees or wooded areas and knock on trees to, like, arouse the tree spirit, to, like, offer them a blessing or to ask them for a service or something. But that stems back to, like, antiquity, because if you read any mythology, they all have nature spirits.
Right.
The dryads, the naiads, they all are ancient Greek spirits.
I was trying to remember of those two, which is the water and which is the tree.
Naiad, so there's a nereid and a naiad. A nereid is a saltwater nymph, and a naiad is a freshwater nymph.
Okay.
And a dryad is a tree. There's other ones, though, too, because there's, like, rock nymphs and shit. But the most popular are the water and the tree. Yeah.
Okay.
The more you know. But yeah, so knocking on wood or touching wood, a lot of times people just touch it, too, when they need, like, good luck or good vibes or to feel protected. So yeah, and I love that. I think I love more so, actually, like, knocking on, like, actual wood trees, opposed to being like, hey, you that's been processed and painted.
A chair that I hope
varnished.
Is actually really wood somewhere in that mess that you are.
Yeah, so that's, like, my favorite, just because I feel like it is actual. I feel like it's a sweet kind of, like, connection to nature. Mm-hmm. It's not like, don't walk on a ladder, or whatever.
Right.
Or, like,
step on a crack, break your mother's back.
Girl, and so I'm, like, jumping on cracks, like, is it broken yet? Like... Fuck. But no, that never came about, so I tried.
What's funny about that to me is it just made me automatically think of Sherry, who would step on every crack she could find. She hated her mother. It was like, there's a crack.
I love that.
And it was like, calm down.
Right.
Hey, your mother's dead.
Yeah.
So whatever you do now, it's too late. If you wanted to break her back, you should have done it while she was alive.
Yeah. You had stairs in your house.
Push. Again, Ivana Trump at the bottom of the stairs. Someone pushed her.
So you know how
she should have grabbed wood before. Maybe she did. I don't know.
I gotta go. So I don't know where this came from, but when in American culture, when you say things at the same time, we say Bob at the same time. It's all jinx, right? And like,
jinx, yummy Coke.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from, but the whole jinx thing, when you and somebody say something at the same time. In a lot of cultures, it's not a good thing. So, like, when I was looking this up, I didn't figure out why people say jinx like that and what it means in, like, modern U.S. culture. But, like, in Italy, if you say something at the same time as someone that you care about, a friend or a family member, it means that person won't live a happy life, and that person probably won't get married.
Ugh.
And I'm like, wow. But, like, ¿por qué, though? Like, why? Why? But I don't know. But I just thought, okay.
Well, but it makes sense that if that's what that means in that culture, that we say jinx, because a jinx is a bad thing.
Yeah.
A jinx means you're trying to put a curse on someone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, why we say that like it's a cute, fun thing. Oh, jinx, you owe me a coat.
Yeah. Well,
unless we're trying to summon the jinx monsoon, and that's totally different.
I would do it all the time.
If she wants to come to our house, that'd be
All the
fine.
time.
I love jinx.
And that's why I feel like there's so many things. Yes, it's very Christian nationalism, white supremacist bullshit is like what American Christianity is today, right? But culturally, we all do the things that we've talked about: leaving teeth under the pillow for the tooth fairy, knocking on wood, all the superstitious things we do, all the things we do that are very occult, and still people like want to demonize like paganism or spiritual beliefs or whatever. And it's just so funny to me because the same people I feel like who are religious are also very superstitious, or they believe.
Well, like the things that people do at weddings, the throwing of rice is for prosperity. That's a superstition. The wearing of white. And now here's the funny thing about the wearing of white is so many people believe that it's about virginity. It has nothing to do with virginity whatsoever. It has to do with prosperity.
Okay.
Because back in the day, back when I was young. No, I'm just kidding. Way back when laundry services weren't what they are now.
Yeah.
Only very, very wealthy people wore white.
Oh.
Because it would get dirty so easily.
Yeah.
And it wasn't practical.
No.
So the richest people would wear white to their weddings.
Makes sense.
Because they're like, fuck you, I am so rich, I can wear this dress one time. Who cares?
Yep.
And who cares if it's super elaborate? And by the way, they weren't. They weren't usually super elaborate. But it was just the fact that it was white.
Yeah.
And so it was really to show off to the poor people.
Look how much money I have.
Look how much money I have, and you
rich.
don't.
I'm rich, you're poor. Stupid. Maybe if you just pulled yourself up by your bootstraps, maybe you could be rich like me.
I hate it when people are too lazy to work.
Well, I mean, also not seeing each other, the bride and groom not seeing each other.
Yeah,
superstition. So I think that if you stop and think about it, our culture is really, indoctrinated into interesting superstitions and like occult practices that no one thinks about in those.
Well, and so many of those things happen in a church.
Yeah,
and so the Christian folk or religion of whatever who want to say, oh, that's a cult, that's whatever that, but you're still doing these practices.
What did you start as?
Within your church.
Right, exactly. Yep, I know, it's crazy to me.
Giving people this magic cup of grape juice that has been transformed into the body of Christ. That's a superstition.
I want you to know that drinking blood is unhealthy, and eating flesh of people is also unhealthy for people. So the fact that this is a thing where you're eating the flesh and drinking the blood of Christ. Do it, but I'm saying it's not good for you. But
okay.
You've heard of other like very modern superstitions, like when the internet was newer and people were like sending each other chain letters.
Oh God, yes.
And
because chain letters used to be a thing that you had to send through snail mail.
Actual mail, yeah. Or like you've heard of like maybe you haven't, the white lighter. Like, don't use a white lighter.
So I don't know the white lighter.
So do you know what the 27 Club is?
No.
Okay, so the 27 Club is this club because a bunch of musicians and artists.
Oh, yeah. Who died at 27, yes.
Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, millions of others. Millions. I don't know, a bunch. But a lot of the times, allegedly, it's kind of more, this feels like an urban legend to me, but it was said that people died or, fell ill if they had a white lighter or used a white lighter to smoke. And so then it became connected to the 27 Club, where basically if you had a white lighter, there are like people who smoke weed today, smoke cigarettes, whatever, that will not use a white lighter. If you, here's my lighter, they'd be like, nope, no thanks, I'll find someone else. And it's very superstitious.
I shall not smoke because I don't want to die.
Exactly, which I'm comical, right? But it's usually marijuana based. So if you're smoking marijuana with a white lighter, people think that it's a bad omen.
Interesting. I never heard of that.
Yeah, it is very interesting.
Of course, they don't smoke, so I don't own a lighter.
You had foster children. That's like
that is true. But the only it's like the only thing I learned from foster children about drug culture
is what it looked like.
One was what it looked like, but two, it was also the whole 420 thing, which it was like, what are you talking about? What does it even mean?
I also don't know. I genuinely don't know why 420. I don't know why.
Well, what I was told, and I don't know that it's true, was that it was some specific police code. 420, although I don't know. I don't know that that's true because I've tried to look it up and I can't find a definitive why 420.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, right? Urban legends, superstitions. Sometimes you can't. They just become a thing, and why? Well, when I think of like my 5th, 6th, 7th year in school, and those bracelets, those jelly bracelets everyone wore, I wore them up to my fucking elbow, right? And then it became on the news that like, oh my god, all the colors mean something else, and
I remember
and it was like
that
a
was
sexual
so
thing, and I was like, no, I'm a shy, scared person, so these are my comfort bangles. But yeah, I don't know how that spread. Who said that to who? That it got on the news, that it spread nationwide, right? But there are a lot of things.
Because the whole jelly bracelet thing started with Madonna, right? Because she's the one who first started wearing the black rubber jelly bracelets. And then they became the group called Madonna Wannabes, which were all just the little children
when was
who
this?
wanted 85.
Yeah, so I wasn't born.
Right, no, I know. But then she's the one who kind of... she's not the first person to wear a rubber bracelet, for God's sakes, because they weren't created for her.
Right.
But it became a huge thing immediately. Well, being a chica who's always had fat wrists, I wasn't able to buy jelly bracelets. But I worked for a company where we had O-rings that they're the exact same thing. They are just O-rings that looked like Madonna's bracelets, but they were big enough to go over my wrist. And I had 3 of them that I wore all the time. I never took them off.
I remember this.
And then when I had surgery take out my gallbladder, they were like, you have to take those off. And I'm like, but they're rubber. They don't conduct electricity.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's about sanitation, not about... we're not worried you're going to electrocute yourself in the...
Which one are you doing?
We're not doing shock therapy. We're taking out your gallbladder.
Yeah.
So I was like, but I've never taken them off. And even though I didn't have anything specifically tied to that, it, felt like a super... Like, I can't take them off. I've never taken them off. And now I don't even wear them anymore because, they had to take them off for surgery.
So now they're...
I started wearing them again, but it was like, I have not taken them off. At that point, I hadn't taken them off for years.
Yeah.
I also imagine they were covered with germs.
Yummy. I think that the revamp of these jelly bracelets, though, because if I was in, 7th, 8th grade, it was Avril Lavigne. Because remember, she wore all her bracelets up to her armpits.
Well, didn't she also wear socks as arm warmers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like leg warmers, but on your arm.
Which I always thought were cooler because then they started to make arm warmers. And I'm like, nope, give me some tube socks and I'll cut them myself.
Right. Yeah. I'll do it myself.
Yeah. Well, because I never was a fan of, that... This is really off topic, but Hot Topic goth. You go to the store and you can buy your whole look and you're goth. And I'm like, no. I remember being 6th, 7th grade and literally putting safety pins through my own sweatshirt and then getting to school and being told I couldn't wear it because it was gang related. And I said, what gang, bitch? I'm one person and you don't see anyone else wearing them.
The gang of Annika.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, yeah, it was... But I got in trouble. That was the only reason I ever got in trouble for school was because of what I wore.
Why would that even be a thing? What... Out in McMinnville.
Well, and this was when I was in Carleton Elementary.
Okay, in Carleton Elementary. What do they even know what a gang is?
No, and that's why it was always so comical.
There weren't even enough people in Carleton to make a gang.
No, bitch, when people, little white boys would be like, ooh, what's up? I'm a whatever. And I'm like, there are fucking cows outside. You're literally nothing. Go back to your father. What the fuck are you doing? Go wrangle some cows, you idiot.
But if you recall when we had foster boys... All these little white boys were all like, I'm a gangbanger.
You're from Canby.
Yeah, what Canby gang are you
Are you from? Just tagging the cows? That's your job, you dumb bitch. You're not a gang member. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. It's your daddy told you to go tag the cows. It's not like you're a hood rat. Now shut the fuck up.
But they could make that sign with their hands, so automatically they
And I remember coming back when I lived in San Francisco... or Los Angeles, and you still had foster boys, and I wore bandanas a lot, and they're like, oh, don't wear that bandana in LA, blah, they're gonna think you're part of the gang. No motherfucker's gonna look at me and think, that tall white bitch is a blood, or a crip, or whatever. And so I was like, what? I was like, do you want to go see... come with me back to California. We'll go see real gang members. And then when you get back, go home and cry to your mother in Canby because you're from the country. You don't know what you're talking about. You've never seen real gang members.
Right, and the only banging you was doing was not with a gang. I'm just saying.
Okay, this is a family motherfucking podcast. How
is it?
No, girl, do you know how many times I've said fuck in this podcast? And listen, if you let your children listen, you're welcome. Also, sorry.
Well...
I'm not that sorry. Look, I don't care.
No.
If you decide to bring your children around me, and I swear, that's on you. It's not my job to police my words around your children.
No.
And if you police my words, bitch, I'll say it more. You know what I mean?
Don't invite me around your children if it's a problem.
Full stop. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right?
Anyway.
And that seems like a good place to just shut this shit down and call it a day because we have reached that point in the podcast.
Where Annika's now canceled.
Mm-hmm. Not for the first time. No.
But I keep coming back.
Yeah. Like a bad penny. She just keeps turning up.
Oh my God. Okay.
So,
I'll take that.
If you had fun with us today, because we did choose a lighter topic than, some of our others. We kind of stayed with it for a little while. Mm-hmm. And so there's that.
We did well.
But if you like what you heard, go ahead and subscribe, share, give us a thumbs up. Whatever your podcasting app that you're on allows you to do to give us a good rating. We appreciate that.
We do.
And if you want to tell us anything at all.
What are your superstitions? That's what I want to know. Because I love knowing people's cultural things or family things, so tell me. What are your superstitions?
I would like to know other people's superstitions because I know that a lot of times I hear superstitions and I just think, well, that's stupid. But I know that mine are also probably stupid.
It's because you're prejudiced.
I did want to share a little piece of mail I got really quickly. I forgot about it until I didn't forget about it. I was like, I meant to do it earlier, blah, blah, blah. So my friend Sparky, who emailed us a while back.
Hey, Sparky.
Sent me this thing, and it's really cool. And I'm sorry, part of it's visual, so those of you who are just listening, it said, good morning. I was going back to listen to past podcasts. When the Black History Icon show was playing, a student commented on a display that I had up. So with that being said, I wanted to share the display that I did for our students. It has been up since the beginning of March. I was aiming for February, but she took a little longer. There are 30 names on each earring that correspond with the 60 pictures in the montage. She's 8 feet tall and 4 feet wide, and she was originally supposed to be on the door, but I went bigger, LOL. And so there's pictures of this thing that she made for her classroom. Oh. And it's just a cool picture of black woman, and it's someone's art. It's not a photograph, but it's next to a photograph of black women in history, and I just thought it was super cool.
Yeah,
and I wanted to share. And thank you, Sparky, for sending that to us.
I love that.
I love it. I think it's beautiful, and
hell yeah,
bigger is always better.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and especially if we're representing black women, bigger is always better.
Yeah. And so if you want to send us something, please do pictures, stories, complaints, compliments. Your own superstitions.
Yes.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
At itwouldseemasthough@gmail.com. And we are here every Wednesday. This is what we do. This is our thing. Mm-hmm. We get together, and I'm going to apologize about the quality of last week. I listened to it yesterday, and I was like, why does it sound like there's so much static in the background? And it's because last week we were at Annika's house, and she has a window air conditioner, which we were sitting basically.
I'm not apologizing. I'm not apologizing.
Well, it was a good show. It was just the sound quality. That's all. But we had a great time. I got to travel. It was our first traveling podcast.
On the road.
On the road again.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
And all right. Well, there we go. So, talk to y'all next week.
Talk at ya.
Bye.
Bye.
It would seem as though